on Tuesday night in the shop. Gonna get going on this one here. My measurements from the job. It's Tuesday night. We're gonna hit this Wednesday. I'd really like to take this up to the top, but that would just be a waste. It's not perfect, but it's usable, so I'm gonna keep this top portion here. The original furnace was replaced. This house is built in 1980. I think the furnace that's in there, the train we're taking out, is about 20 years old. And somebody made that plenum, that canvas, and that plenum to go on top of what's there. And we're also doing the air conditioner, but we're going to set that in the spring. It's the end of February right now, so we don't set any ACs until the ground thaws out. So we're going to install the coil in the furnace now and come back in the spring and hit the condenser and check it out when it warms up. So here's my new drawing. We got the N80 ESN going in, which is going to be the 70,000, 17 wide, 12 is your 3-ton blower, 33 1/4 approximately. So with our pads, we're 34. Case coil we're putting in is right here. It's an END 2417, so it's 14 5/8 high. And take that 48 5/8 off of my 55 3/8. Gives me a 6 3/4 inch plenum going on top of my case coil. I bought a 4-foot chunk of duct. I bought a stock 10 by 25 to 20 by 25 boot. I found a 10 by 25 canvas laying in the barn, and that leaves me a 9.5 inch piece of 10 by 25 I gotta make. So I gotta make 2 pieces. I gotta make that short piece of 10 by 25, and I gotta make that 6 3/4 inch plenum that goes from 17 1/2 to our 16 1/2 by 20 3/8. And that's how you do it. Make sure you check your model numbers with what you're supposed to have as far as measurements, what you sold them. Make sure you got what you sold them, and get going on your metal and get out there and put it in. Those rare jobs where, well, not rare, but it's a furnace and air, so we are actually going into S-slips on the top. Usually when we do a furnace change out, we're coming up underneath a plenum, you know, right there, and we're just going to bend an inch in and then seal it with tape or caulk it. Well, this one we're actually got a case coil going in, so the top of this fitting is not going to get bent in now on the plenum. It's going to actually go into the S-slips of the canvas up here. So our 6 3/4 is actually 5 3/4, and then any fitting you're building has to come back 1 inch straight. So when you're making a fitting that has to go into S-slips, you actually, you know, total length is -1 inch, and then that last inch, that 6 3/4 part after the 5 3/4, has to come back straight. So our fitting, the transition, gets built within 5 3/4. Now canvas comes in a 100-foot roll, and you just pull it out and bend it up as needed. Usual, well, normally I'm getting out to the shop making metal about 10 every night, because I put it off to the last minute. Anyway, we're wrapped up at 10 o'clock Tuesday night. We got our furnace in the truck. Hopefully our metal's all made right and we're not missing anything. And we'll see how tomorrow goes. Got our canvas for the drop. Whole new drop on this one. That's pretty rare. Filter boot, plenum, short piece of drop, furnace coil. Take out the air in the furnace and the coil tomorrow. Set the new AC in the spring. So this furnace had a 80,000 BTU, 80% furnace in there. So my furnaces come in 66 and 88. So I got to figure out whether I'm going down from 80 to 66 or up to 88 from the 80 that was in there. So I always measure the house, And this is what I use to calculate my heat loss or gain. So we come up with 21,000 approximately for a heat gain and 51,882 for heat loss. So obviously my 66 at 80% efficient is gonna meet the 51,882 for heat. Here's my measurements. Of course, you always gotta get your city permit if you need that. And most cities are going to require that. And here's my measurements of the house. So that's what I did. You come up with ceiling square footage, wall square footage, window square footage. If you're doing air conditioner, directionality of those square footage of those windows is going to pop into this area up here. So north, you multiply square footage of your windows times 25. East and west times 75. Square footage of windows times 75. East and west is going to be your highest gain for cooling load. South is times 40. So north only times 25. And then every window times 90 for heating BTU loss. Doors and heating are times 4,000 BTUs. Cooling, doors are 300. And then of course your insulation, thickness of the walls down here. You know, anything after like 1980 is probably going to be 2x6 walls. So 2x6, we multiply square footage of the walls times 6. 2x4 walls times 7. No insulation, you know, 1940s corn crib with no insulation times 10 for the walls. Basement, you know, below grade is times 5. So we're going to carry the square footage of the ceiling down to the basement and multiply times below grade, lookout, or walkout. And that's how I come up with what I do here. And I've never had somebody call me in the middle of January and say they can't hold set point. I have, however, using this formula, come up with a furnace that was overheating because there was, you know, too many, you know, I sold a 110 when I should have sold a 90 based on these numbers right here. So this is a very good setup for, I'm always going to be, if I come up with something in between, I'm always going to go 10,000 BTUs lower than what this tells me, just based on me having to replace a furnace that was too big with one that was smaller. Alright, so here is the job. Got some weird, huge intake cut in here. Obviously we're disconnecting that. And there's a shut-off baffle there, so we'll just take it back to that. Removing the humidifier. Pretty neat gauges. Probably just put them back in. That one will move over probably to here. Getting rid of this filter, putting it at 20 by 25 by 1. We're leaving that plum, so we're going to be new right up to the bottom of the cams here. Checking out our low voltage, we just got our 4 and our 2. Get going on this. Corey's out there disconnecting the AC right now. So we're going to set the furnace coil and come back in the spring and do the air. Just got to recut that hole a little bit bigger for our 10 by instead of this 9 1/4 drop. Okay, sweeping out, looking around here. This water heater going downhill right here, so Can't really see that in the video, but yeah, it's going downhill right there. So we're going to fix that. We need 6 inches single wall to flammable, so we're going to put a piece of sheet metal on anything that's going to burn. We got a B-vent T that's supposed to be 1 inch from that wood back there, so let's put a piece of sheet metal there. Oh, that's not good. They got insulation from that pipe. We'll have to take that. That's touching. There's a B-vent right there, so we have to get that insulation off of there. And I'm just going to cut this hole bigger here. And we'll get this baby put together. Very important part of the job. Measure and see where your boot gets cut in. The back is pretty level. It's a little high in the back. So we're 8 7/8 at the plenum. The drop that we're going to have to cut bigger from 9 1/4 to 10. This is still going to be the back of it, which is at 9 1/2. So 9 1/2 minus 8 7/8 tells us how far from the back our boot needs to be cut in. So 9 1/2 minus 8 7/8, we want to be 5/8 in on the back there.
You want to be 5/8 in?
Yep.
These screws are on the table. Whoa.
Okay, Corey's got the hole cut. He's going to screw the boot on. I got to cut that hole bigger for the return yet. Keeping my 6-inch throat between there and the plenum. Going out 3/4 of an inch to the left with that hole. The depth is right. We got this thing pitched properly now and hung, strapped up. Turn my water heater back on before I forget. She fired. Got our heat shields in over here on the wall. One behind the chimney. Screwed that boot on outside this room, and that's only a 30-inch doorway, and we need 33 1/2, so good thing we caught that. Now we're going to caulk our boot all the way around, stand it up, slide it in. Okay, Corey's getting that little piece on up there. Then we're going to put the canvas and the 4-footer, hang it down. Just because all this stuff's in the way. Normally I would put it all together here and slide it in, but that's going to be too tall. It's going to hit the gas piping. Got the plenum and the coil screwed on here. I screwed up this metal. I bent that out in the shop. Normally I'm going to the furnace this time of the year, but we got a coil. If you got a furnace, you bend out and you got something to screw to, and it's not so hard to take apart 20 years from now, like these people do to us, where we're chiseling these screws from the inside. You can't get at it. It's a nightmare. So we'll just do that to Corey 20 years from now. I have to take that apart. Yeah, so I just had to hand seam this thing around. Yep, Corey's changing.
Put
gray on park and yellow on cool. We're setting our AC for 2-ton air, so 800 CFM at 0.5. There's a yellow wire on our furnace there. All we got to do is button up this drain line.
got a couple clamps for me?
I would say keep it right against the furnace so it's not in the way of getting our filter out. Yeah, without kinking it up top. Floor drain. All we got is our chimney left to come down. Okay, we got it fired up here. Chimney's done. Obviously. Gas pressure 3.5 4 or 5 inches of water column. Our analyzer. Temperature rise, we got these nice thermometers that were here. 68 on the return. 122 on the supply, so 32 and 22 is 54 for our rise. It's been running a while. 35 to 65 is what we're looking for. So that's perfect, right? Who's that? 32 and 22, 54. Yeah, perfect. Alright, all we gotta do is check the static. Turn that gas valve off, pop that plug in there, and we'll check our static.
Before you get a little carried away here, let me.
So we disconnected this huge thing that was dumping 20 below zero air right into our return before. It's amazing that heat exchanger wasn't correct. Of course, who knows how much they ran it with that thing open. 123. Corey, don't ever pull that off of there when it's running like that.
Never had?
Yeah, you'll cause a blowtorch. That is a big no-no.
Okay.
Because you got gas dumping out of there. So turn it off at the on-off switch right
I don't
there.
know, we wanted to check the static, I thought.
Yeah, we do, which is why I told you to shut that off. But go ahead and check the static now. I've gone upstairs before and forgot to put that plug back in. Turned the furnace on, came down, I had a blowtorch blowing out the side of my gas valve, melting all those wires.
Really?
So triple check that plug, your outlet manifold pressure plug on that gas valve right there. Make sure that is in. The little ones that have the Allen wrench, those you can take off. But that big plug, no. You got lucky.
Huh?
You got lucky there.
0.15. 0.41. 42.
Total static 0.42. And just let me see that's all I had. So we got our PO tubes put in between the heat exchanger and the coil and down in the blower compartment. That's total static 0.42, so that's perfect. We got the big 20 by 25 by 1 cheapy blue fiberglass filter that I like to use. So that's a MERV 2. Over and out.